3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's Monday. It's Monday. It really is. 7 o'clock. And that can mean only one thing. It's time for Reading the Signs, where me, Comedy John Ryan, and my comedian pals from all over the world are going to be talking about comedy, well-being, why we do it, how we cope. And that's where we need your help. We need you to send us your top tips for well-being. Be part of the show. Drop a comment in the box on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on the mensradiostation.com website. It's going to be a great show, much better than last week. What we're trying to do is think exceptional, which, funnily enough, is the motto of WJ, our show sponsors. WJ are the UK's leading road marking and highway maintenance company. They're working with us, we're working with you. Let's get to it. Welcome along, everybody, to Reading the Signs with me, John Ryan. It's Monday again. Can you believe it's come round so quickly? I know the most important question that we all want to know is, how's the beard coming on, John? Well, I'm going for that kind of Jethro meets a homeless person look. I've decided to wear a black jumper to make it look like I've got no neck, but actually I do still have a neck in there somewhere. So how's life been for you guys? What you been up to? Let me know that you're there. Do drop us a comment in the box. I'm going to try and make myself look slightly less red, if that's at all possible. It's Monday, start of the week, start of a new week. You having a good day? Have you had a bad day? What sort of day you had? What's going on? What's happened? Tell me. Tell your Uncle John. Let's. Oh, look, I'm going to look all spooky. Woo. What's going on? What have you been up to? I've just spent a week on a cruise ship, traveling around the Med. Went to Spain, went to Portugal, had a really great time, met some really, really nice people. But it occurred to me that, am I slipping into my old habits? Am I traveling too much again already? Because before lockdown, I kind of made a little kind of decision not to travel as much, not to kind of spend as much time away from home as perhaps I was doing before. But needs must. What do? You've got work, you've got bills, you've got things you've got to do. You've got to do them. Just embrace it, I guess. There are worse ways to earn a living. But I'm not going to fall back into the old rat race, though, I've decided. So how was your week? What have you been up to? How's February working out for you? It's the dark days are getting slightly less dark and not as long as we head towards the spring. And then, obviously, as it heads towards the spring, we're going to have a lot more daylight. So, like I say, do let us know that you're there if you are listening to us on social media, especially if you're on Facebook, where we can talk to you. You can put a comment in the box, even if it's just a little hello, and then we can have a little chat. So, as you know, each week I get mates from the comedy circuit, not the big stars that everybody wants to go and see, because as I've said to you so many times before, for every one person that becomes a stand-up on Live at the Apollo or Mock the Week or those things, there are dozens who carve out a career as successful or even with more validity than some of the guys who just do straight comedy on. And tonight's guest is no different to that. I've known this man for about 20 years. He's actually one of my favourite people, let alone one of my favourite comics. Whenever we work together, we invariably end up hanging out. He just makes me laugh. If you're ever bored, do go onto his Facebook site, and then I'm sorry, I'm getting a little signal there that I'm not quite sure of. Do go onto his Facebook page and read his blogs. I'm trying to persuade him to write a book. It's one of my ambitions for the night. You may have seen him on stage. You may have seen him in Coronation Street. You may have seen him on Mrs. Brown's Boys. My favourite moment in cinema history for every film I've ever seen was watching him on Finding Eric in the cinema. I was in the cinema sitting there watching him, knowing that he's an avid City supporter, having to pretend to be a Red. And bless him, he didn't join in. Even though he was on a film in a cinema and everyone else was acting as a United fan, he just wouldn't do it. No matter what, he just sat there with a big grin on his face at the back of this coach. And it's something that's lived with me ever since. He's, as I say, a comedian. He's an actor. He's just an all-round good guy and very, very entertaining. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy spending some time in his company. Going to give him a dramatic intro. I want you to please welcome onto our show tonight. It's Mr. Smug Roberts. There you go. How you doing, mate? That was a dramatic intro. That was a little guitar. You all good? You seem to be muted, mate, for some reason. Let's see if I can help you. Nope, you've got to do it at your end.
There you go. Is that better?
Hey, we got you. Welcome.
Got me.
We got you.
I'm trying to find out where to look at the camera, you know.
Well, I'm just looking at you there. We look like a bourbon and a chocolate tart. What do they call them? What are them biscuits called? Do you remember the custard creams?
Custard cream. Am I custard cream?
I think you're custard cream. I'm more a bourbon. Yeah.
I just think it's the light in my landing that's better than yours.
Well, I'm going for that kind of Oriental brothel look here.
Yeah, I like that. We've done that before.
I think I'm nailing it. Behind the screen, I've got 20 people bagging up coke and do some ironing, some laundry.
That's fine. I love a bit of that.
What have you been up to today, mate? What's been going on?
Well, didn't get up too early. You know, like sometimes you just feel like I'll tell you what I did do. What affected what I did today was yesterday. On Saturday, the kids' football cup game under 13s. My lad plays and I manage the team.
All right.
So he gets picked every week because I want to build up his self-esteem, you know.
Good man.
But no, he is a decent player anyway, so that's all right. And anyway, coming off the pitch, I went prop like a salmon jumping out of a river, coming down a slippy bank, and I went right on my back. And I was like, ugh, and I turned around and my back was covered in mud, my ass was covered in mud to full it. People laughing at me. I'm just glad it didn't go viral. That's all I'm saying. So today,
isn't it strange when we play football before you worry about your knees and your ankles? Now it's just literally falling over.
Yeah, just falling over is the thing now. My kids are worried about me. And then I gigged at the night. I was fine. But when I got up on Sunday morning, I just couldn't be arsed. You know, sometimes when you're like, oh God, I just can't be bothered now. So I actually more or less, I stayed in all day. And I actually did that thing of eating what was in the cupboard.
Oh.
So for breakfast, it was Weetabix. Then for dinner, it was tuna sandwich. And at night, I did myself beans on jacket potato. There you go, living dream,
mate. I tell you what, you are the most rock and roll guest I have ever had on here, mate.
And I watched a couple of episodes of Afterlife.
Do you like that? Does that work for you?
It can't. Well, it's kind of like a one-trick pony if you binge watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think because it's so heavy on the depression side of things, and the bereavement and all those kind of things that go with it. That if you watch 3 on the bounce, you like, oh God.
But I struggle with Ricky Gervais, and Jessica, I think he's cruel. Everything he does is really cruel. Just my opinion, but I don't like that. Your comedy was always very relatable, very mischievous. I don't remember it actually being aimed at. The only joke I remember that you doing that could be in any way controversial was about your dog talking to you. That's it. Everything about you is just upbeat and silly, and it's that, isn't it?
Well, one of the things I don't get with Gervais is that kind of pervy character, the one with the glasses and the black hair.
Derek.
It's all yes, no, not Derek, the one in Afterlife.
Oh right, yeah. Oh God, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
He plays the same character in Derek as well. Like all the others are like actors. I mean, he's got his little troupe of actors, hasn't he? That he uses a little bit like Ronnie Barker used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
Have a troupe of people that can deliver the whatever he needs. And it is you can tell the decent actors because you go with it in a new environment, don't you? In a new setting. But that pervy one with the long hair that just as my dad gratuitously horrible, like telling dirty sex jokes and I think it's a part of Rick. I think it's a part of Ricky that he needs to balance off.
He needs to spend a weekend in Gorton, doesn't he?
Yeah, really, he should do. Yeah, but I'd be happy to take him round Moston.
I bet you would.
So look, saying all that.
Before we go any further, just want to say a quick couple of hellos. Dylan Skellen up there in Scotland, and
hello, Dylan.
John Mason, who's It's my mate John. He's taken up. He just runs. Christmas Day did a marathon. I'm like this. You know, people just constantly amaze you with their capabilities, and you forget what we can all do. Mal Watson as well. Thanks for coming along, mate, tonight. So let's start first of all, Andy. How did you? What was you like as a kid? Was you like intellectual at school? Was you mischievous? Was you in trouble?
I was sort of like, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to go as far as saying I was the clown and all that nonsense, but I used to like. I see my younger lad now. He seems very similar to me, where he likes a crack, but he's not going to put himself on the line. Real, you know. I mean, I was a bit mischievous, a little bit more than I think my boy is, but I had a really good, happy childhood. I was writing about it today, about moving to a new house when we were like 10 years of age, and it was like, and I put on the piece today. I won't spoil it anymore because I want people to, have a look at it. But
this is your blog that you're writing, yeah?
Yeah. And it came to me today when I was writing about being a kid when I was 10 years of age, how good it was. And we moved to a new house and we backed onto a park that had it, and I put in it. It was like living every day in a holiday camp. Felt like being in Butlins. And then we even had a swimming pool down the road, an old Victorian swimming pool that we used.
Right.
So I've got happy memories of childhood. And I think as I got older, I kind of, I think it's when you look at things in a more serious light and you start second thinking things, is that the right word? And I think I was reasonably happy up until like, so probably just started doing comedy.
Right.
And I think the pressures of the comedy, and it also didn't help that I managed to get divorced along the way as well.
Yeah.
And get with a younger woman and have another kid. Like I say, I'm living the dream.
Mate,
16 now, I'm still 16. I'm still on the school run.
How did you work on sports day with the granddad's race? Or the parents' race?
Yeah, well, I was going to pretend that I had a stroke to let me win. The younger dads, because the younger dads, the dads I'm associating with on the school run now are between 20 and 30, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And the women are the same age, and my ex-partner, she goes to school when she takes my boy to school, and she sees a girl that she was in class with picking up her grandkid.
Wow.
So there's a kind of a, you know what I mean? So it's noticeable when you're an older dad or an older mum, but I've never been made to feel,
That's nice.
for him.
No, you're fitting anywhere. When we go back to though, at school, were you trouble? Did you fight? Were you lively? Were you quiet?
I would fight. I would never go looking for trouble, but I wasn't going to be intimidated by anybody.
Yeah,
I'd stick up for myself. But football was a big part of my life when I was a kid. When we haven't got a comprehension of how difficult it is to be a footballer. That's all that matters in your life. I was an half decent player, but I was never going to make it professionally. And I think that was the driving force for me when I was a kid.
Just to play football, be a footballer.
Yeah, I just love playing football. I love playing tennis. I love playing water polo at the baths near our house. It was all. I was pretty consumed by sport, and I was a big Manchester City fan as well. So I used to watch them in the days of Colin Bell and Rodney Marsh later on. Those kind of people. So that was a big thing for me and my friends that were all City fans. Up to the point we went to see them win the League Cup in 1976, I think it was.
Newcastle, they beat Newcastle, was that it?
Yeah. And my mate thought it was Alvin Stardust and had a pair of gloves on all the time. And when we got there, he put his ticket in his pocket, and because he was putting his gloved hand in his pocket, he pulled the ticket out and lost it.
Brilliant.
But that's how long ago it was. We had to have a whip round to buy him a scalp for £7.
Wow.
It cost us £7 to get him a ticket for Wembley.
Oh, mate, I tell you, that's moved on, isn't it? So when you left school, what did you do? What was your first job?
My first job, my dad got me a job as a groundsman on a golf course.
Wow.
And I swear to God, there was one lad called Cartledge, that's how we pronounced it, and another one called Leg. and we were just looking after the golf course, like like the shovel, that special shovel that you have for lifting turf up.
Yeah.
And then cutting it up. That's what they taught us how to do. That they taught us how to cut grass and drive a lawnmower. All those dangerous things that they shouldn't have done. But I was looking to be a graphic designer, was what I was trying to do, get to college to do that. So that's what I did. I enrolled on a graphic design course and also a sign writing course. So I would say my trade is a sign writer.
Well, did you ever get a job doing it though?
Yeah, well, I also worked for myself for quite a few years as a sign writer. And then vinyl came in because I was a hands-on, brush artist, if you like, sign writer. And then all of a sudden, the vinyl revolution happened, and it was easier and quicker to make money doing that than it was, doing the old school sign writing. So that's what I went into. I did quite well at that, but I was still pursuing football. I got married, and then I got a chance to go to Canada as a soccer coach.
Wow!
When I was in my 20s, but I was married at the time, the first time round, and I had a young lad as well. And I went out there with a view to maybe us moving out there. But when I got there, it was a summer camp for rich kids.
Right.
And I got a job as a coach. And the next year I went and I took the program over. So I ended up going for 3 or 4 years. In the meantime, it didn't work out with me and the ex. And I came home and started my own soccer skills. And it was before Bobby Charlton. And it was before Bobby Charlton was doing them and all that. And I started doing the soccer skills all over the place. And I even ended up running a soccer school in Cheadle with Steve Bruce. And
where was Steve Bruce playing? Was that when he was at Man United?
Yeah, it was just the year that they won the league for the first time. And he sent his lad Alex, who went on to be a professional, and Smythe sent his son Jasper.
Wow!
And the other thing about the other odd thing, not odd, but Alex Hurricane Higgins sent his kid. So it was just like a mishmash of stuff, So I did that. The first time I ever did a soccer school, we did it in Ramsbottom up in Lancashire. And 90 kids turned up. I had 3 coaches. And it just went mental, It was absolutely like scary busy. And we just had to do a little tournament with them all, to thin the numbers out and make it manageable. And then, so I made a good living doing that. And then I kept going back to Canada every year, building up a reputation over there. And then coming back and it was also, I could bullshit quite a bit because there was no internet. So as far as they were concerned, I was Mostyn and George Best.
That's hilarious, man.
But the one thing that he said, the bloke who was the coach the first year, the head coach, he said, "Who have you played for?" So I said, "Well, I had trials for Aston Villa when I was a kid. I actually went down to Bodymore Heath where the training ground is and all that." I told him. I said, and I played for Droylsden, which was a non-league team in near Ashton.
In Greater Manchester, yeah.
I swear to God, yeah. He come back with this proper leaflet that he printed, and it had my real name. It had Andy Wilkinson, a member of the Aston Villa European Cup winning side.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
And he just put it on. And no one could check. There's no way of checking unless you went over to Villa's office. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake. And the only time we got close to getting called out on it was when a visiting football team came and would ask you what our background was. We're going, and I'm going, yeah, I just played a bit, yeah. Oh, so you like it, mate? That kind of thing. So
Just a European Cup final. When did the comedy start then? What made you do that?
Well, the comedy thing started because I always fancied doing it. One of my first intros into comedy that I liked was, do you remember when Tem was out with Dudley Moore?
Yeah.
And Bo Derek.
Oh, Derek. Yeah.
Well, me, Archie Kelly, the comic.
Yep.
Well, me and Archie are mates from back, from junior school. And we went to the pictures to watch with another couple of our friends. We went to watch Bo Derek and this Dundee Moor film, 10. But when we got there, it was sold out. And you know when we used to, it was called Barry Norman, you should do a review, didn't it?
Yeah.
Film 82 or film 92, whatever year it was.
Yeah, whatever it was, yeah.
And then the night before, I'd seen him do a review of Richard Pryor, the concert film. And I said to the lads, there were 4 of us, and I said, well, if I can't get in on see Bo Derek, I watched a little bit about that last night. We should watch that. And it was a revelation because I've never seen comedy like that because I grew up with young Bernard Manning. And I didn't even know his dad was famous until his dad was on the telly,
wow.
years later. And I had no idea who Bernard Manning was, per se, the man he is and the man he was. And so I was pretty much into Morecambe and Wise and your Les Dawsons and Tommy Coopers and everything. And all of a sudden we went to see this Richard Pryor fella. It took us about 5-10 minutes to get up to the speed of his diction and whatever you want to call it. And after that, we just laughed our socks off for a good hour. And that's when I thought I'd love to do something like that. And then I fell into watching Robin Williams on Mark and Mindy type thing.
Do you know if you go on YouTube, you can still see Walker and Mindy, and it's still funny. It's still manic, but
well, I gave my lad the DVD just recently. I had something like six episodes on it of Mark and Mindy, and he's got that now, and he watches it. So I did that. I watched that, and I always watch it do a bit, and then when I was 35, I'm gonna have to plug this in now because it's going bad battery. Then when I was 35, and I was married to Sue, we can you still hear me? Okay.
Yeah, can see it.
Yeah. I ended up going to the Frog and Bucket on a Monday night, and it was the Raw night then. It was called Raw.
Just explain. Frog and Bucket is one of the best clubs in the country. Isn't it now?
For me, it was like,
what's it called now? That whole area got regenerated around it, didn't it? And it's suddenly
it's called
something called
the Northern Quarter now.
Yeah, Northern Quarter.
We used to be called Landcoats.
Yeah, I remember when I was at college, we were told don't go that side of Piccadilly Gardens. So of course we would always go that side of Piccadilly Gardens. And it was nothing.
Yeah, so I did that, and then I got up, and my complete bit of luck was the first time I ever got up at the Frog and Bucket on a Monday night. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I just had this thing in my head. And it's something I try to stick to through my life, really, is what's the worst thing that can happen if I do something?
Yeah.
On a win-lose kind of basis. And I thought, well, the worst thing that can happen is I'll die on my ass and I'll go home. That's the scenario. You know what else can happen? There's nothing that bad. So I'm sat there. I'd read in the paper that there was this Raw night for comedians. But the night before, I'd been at, I was the chairman of the management committee at my daughter's school. And we'd had a meeting, and they wanted to stop the special needs children integrating into the mainstream school, which they did as a given. And they wanted to stop that for some reason. So we had this kind of consultation with someone from the education. And she was being a right, I don't want to swear, but she was being a right pain in the ass. And she was also sharing the meeting, but also answering the questions. So, for instance, if someone asked her a difficult question, she'd go, yeah, thanks for that, John. We'll get that other one over there. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I put my hand up and I said, hello, my name's, blah, blah, blah. And I'm the chairperson of the management committee. I just like to make a point that you shouldn't be chairing the meeting, and we should have an independent chair. And, bear that in mind. And so they took that on board. And then they said, yeah, we'll make that happen at the next meeting. So then they said, because the thing is, I won't want anybody to think you're a smug bastard.
Gotcha.
Which got a big round of applause after 200 people that were there, because she was quite smug. So the next night, when they asked me, the next day at school, they're all going, all right, you smug bastard, to me. Yeah. So
that's where the name Smug was born?
That's where the name was born, because the next night I went to the Frog, and for some reason, I had no idea I was going to even say it. And he said, what name are you using? Are you using your real name or the stage name? I hadn't even thought about that. So I just went, Smug. So he said, what's your second name? So in the North, if they ask you what your second name is, you say your middle name.
Right.
And my middle name is Robert. So I just said Smug, and then he went, what's your middle name? And I went, Roberts. And he wrote down Smug Roberts. I walked on stage, and as soon as I walked on stage, this man and this woman and another couple stood up to leave. So I said, where are you going? So they went, oh, sorry. And I said, yeah. I said, can you do me a favour? My partner won't believe that I've done this. And because I was running soccer schools, you know them old cameras that you go, you know, the old one that you just rolled on and took a photo.
Yeah.
I had one of them in my pocket because I'd been to the soccer school. So I said to this woman, we just take the photograph, and there's a picture of me like that, just holding the microphone like this on stage. But the woman was Caroline Aherne.
Right.
And I didn't even know it. I didn't know it was her, obviously. I'd heard about Mrs. Merton just very, very...
Yeah.
It just started to take off. Cut a long story short, it was Hooky from New Order with her and her brother and this other fella. And we became friends. She mentored me, got me an agent, got me some gigs. And I think that's the only reason I carried on doing it, to be honest. If that, I wouldn't have known what to do.
See, for a lot of people listening, and normally when you meet people who don't work in entertainment, they don't realise that, like someone like Caroline Aherne or Ricky Gervais or even Jimmy Carr, or whatever, they've been in green rooms with us, and they're just people. Caroline, I found very supportive. First time I went up to do the front, she was there. I'd done a St. Patrick's night once, and she came along and loved it, and then said, after, look, we'll all go out afterwards. But by the time the gig ended, she was just paralytic. So we just propped her up, and she was good fun, but so much support. So, and if you meet someone who latches onto you, it's just great.
Well, and I mean, for me, I was that bloke who did football and had some mates in Moston, and I never, showbiz wasn't any, media wasn't a job that we were expected to get into in any form, even, writing or performing or anything. The most we would ever get away with in our lifetime would have been a school play or something, or a bit of Amdram or something. So Caroline's encouragement, and then meeting her old agent, a fellow called Sandy Gall, they started developing what I was doing. And then it got to 2000, and it started kicking in for me, because I was kind of like well known in Manchester. And Don Ward asked me to do the opening night at the Comedy Store in Manchester when it opened. And because I did that, that got me into Jongleurs headlining.
Yep.
And I took it from there, really. And also the night I did the opening night at the Comedy Store, somebody was in from 24 Hour Party People and asked me to audition, and I got a small part in that. And then I got an agent off the back of that. And then I got quite a lot of little cameo roles, in different things. And then obviously I started doing the odd bigger thing in a couple of films, so that was good. And then the big thing for me was doing Buried, which won a BAFTA. It was a drama about a prison. Yeah. And that was the first kind of big role I had. And then obviously it didn't do me any harm getting and looking for Eric as well.
So again, it's just for people just joining us. This is Smug Roberts talking about his career as a comedian, and we're getting into the acting side of it. Before we get into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to the WJ Group, who sponsor the show, UK's leading road marketing and highway maintenance company. Always very supportive, and thanks for that. So I did mention at the intro, I was sitting in a cinema, me and my son, because we're big Eric fans. For people who don't know, it's just basically, isn't it? The gist of it is the guy, Eric Cantona visits the guy, and he's this kind of spirit guide, isn't he?
Yeah.
And knowing you as the massive City fan that you are, and this is from the days when they weren't successful. And I just remember seeing this one scene really stuck in my mind. I think Justin Morehouse is in it as well, where you're all on a coach shouting United, 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 and you were just sitting there with your arms folded, having none of it. And I couldn't believe that nobody, when it's being filmed, that nobody, I remember texting you from the cinema, nobody noticed it, that you're just like, literally sitting there with a big grin in your face going, I'm not doing it, not doing it. And even the continuity guys must have gone, right, everyone just go to the window, shout, scream, wave your flags, you just won a game, United are the best team in the world, and you're like going,
Well, it was funny because we got asked, what I noticed about that when I watched the film, and we got to watch it with the United players, just the United players, and Ken Loach was there with a couple of production people. And me and John Henshaw went down together. And I remember looking at the film and going, they've used quite a lot of my cutaways.
Yeah.
And, you know, like reaction shots and stuff like that. And I remember saying to the pal, he said, well, that's a good thing, you know, because you're acting, you know, you don't to stick someone's reaction in who's not acting kind of thing.
Oh, no, you're definitely acting. You're acting like a bloke who's a City fan who's no amount of money is going to get him to shout United, Eric Cantona or not.
I think, I actually remember it now you're saying it, because I remember laughing, like kind of going, like, you know, but not really laughing.
Yeah.
Because they were all mad for it, because they were all FC United fans, the extras.
Yeah.
So they were bang up for it. I'll tell you what did happen. What's surreal is Cantona's a massive star, and, you know, very charismatic, very sort of, when he enters a room, you know, that kind of thing. And me and John Henshaw went to these flats in Manchester to get changed, because the Ken Loach thing is that everybody's equal. Nobody gets star treatment. You know, you're all mucking together. And I went into this bedroom. There's a bloke on the bed. You know, when you put your back on the bed and your legs on the floor, and you have a sleep, your feet on the floor, but your legs are bent at the knees. And this bloke's on the bed now, went, "Way!" And then Cantona jumped up to punch me. He was asleep on the bed. And I always remember thinking, God, this is good. I think I've nearly made it here. I was having my dinner on a bus, like you do. For those who don't know, sometimes when you're filming, they have like an old bus that's been converted into a canteen, really. You know what I mean? That's how it is. And you sit there and you have it. And then one day, I went and sat down, and Ken Loach came and sat with me because he was having his dinner. And he was asking what I'd been up to. And I said, what have you been up to? And he said, I went to a 50th birthday party last night. So I said, oh, who was that? And then he went, the lad who played Kez.
Wow.
So I went, bloody hell, like you. I went, wow, you know. I look out the window, and Eric Cantona waved to us both because he was on his phone outside. And I thought, I'm like in the parallel universe here.
It's just a bit bizarre, isn't it?
It was really, really weird, but you know, like wonderful as was, you know.
So then, what about the Coronation Street bit? Where'd that come from?
That was just went for an audition and got it. I've had a few auditions for a Coronation Street, about 3 or 4, and I just thought it had passed me by. And I went for this one, and just had a good crack with the director when you're auditioning for it. And they wanted someone. So what I say about that is, if anybody's thinking about acting or whatever, there's a million reasons why you won't get a part, and just one why you will, why you'll get it. You know, and I think that's the case in most auditions. As soon as you walk in, they either go, oh yeah, or no, and you know straight away once you've been doing it a while. That was good, because I remember that the first day we were on that, and I'm playing this dog napper, and I'm doing scenes with Alex Cropper, I think he's called, who had the transsexual partner.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. Roy Cropper. And they asked me to get in the car to go. We were shooting on a location. They got in the car, and he was sat in the car, and he just goes, "Hello," you know. You're like, there's Roy Cropper, you know. And it's like you now, you know, even when we see someone, even though we've been doing a bit of this for a while, I still get excited when I'm meeting a celebrity. You know, like, wow, here we go, you know.
Yeah. I've just been away with Gareth Gates. I'm like, oh my God, it's Gareth Gates. It's Gareth Gates.
Because I saw that on radio. They've been doing it 20 years now, haven't
they? Yeah.
Oh no, I thought you meant Gareth the singer. You mean Gareth Gates the manager? What's he called, the singer?
The singer, Gareth Gates.
Who am I thinking of then?
You're thinking of
Gareth South. No, I'm thinking of Southgate for some reason.
Well, this is just.
Anyway, let's clip that out. Oh, you know him? Who's been doing it 20 years?
Go on.
Mr. Pop Culture here.
Do you know there's such an appropriate moment to drink out of a mug that says "Dole."
No. Yeah, well, I feel sorry for that, because I think he got seduced by Jordan, didn't he?
I think something like that. But you know, I'm still available. So for her, not him. But then to me, you know, because what I love is the fact you're just a bloke. You like myself. Yeah, go out in the morning, go and make a film with Spielberg, go home, have a cup of tea.
Well, it's like Davy Jones, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, Davy took his chance with the Ken Loach film again.
Yeah.
and ran with it, you know. And look at him now, Mr. Showbiz. You know, he's like proper showbiz, proper movie star, isn't he?
But to be fair, I mean, I've always loved Ken Loach films, right? Because even when I did do comedy, I just love the fact that they're about nothing. They're just about people and about real. I remember watching the one he made about the railway back in the 80s.
Oh yeah, I remember,
just amazing filmmaker. And when you see these things and you don't realize that could be yourself. Like I had Dominic Holland on, and Dominic's good mate and his son went on to become Spider-Man.
I know, that's incredible, isn't it?
It's just normal people, and you go, wow.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing, wasn't it, with Dominic, in being, you know, like on the circuit with us and stuff. But yeah, I love it when it happens though. You know, and you see someone doing really well. Yeah, because I feel like it's one up for us.
It's not really how most people think, though, is it? Most people get a little bit jealous. Most people get a little bit jealous, get a bit bitter, and then the backstabbing starts. And
I think that's I mean, here's one for you. The two most famous people I know, and you know, knocks about with Caroline Aherne, always wanted to do a Ken Loach film.
Yeah, and
so did Peter Kay.
Wow.
So there's that kind of thing where, I mean, I've done everything I set out to do. I've done my own Radio 4 show. I've done a film. I've done a thing. I've done a bit of TV, and I do what I want when I want now.
Yeah, that's good, man.
And when I see the nature of the way Caroline and Peter have struggled, even with mental health issues, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you know what I mean. You just dealing with fame is difficult. And I've seen that with Caroline, where she's been despondent, and I've seen it where Peter's been a bit, you know, despondent at the situation.
Caroline Aherne, for people who know the name, not quite familiar with who the royal family is probably what she's most famous for, but one of the best character actresses this country has produced, Mrs. Murder. And that. Whenever I spoke to her, I always got a feeling that there was just a sadness there. It's just like,
well, I mean, I don't like talking about it other than generalising about it all, but. Me and Caroline got quite close, and you could see she was sometimes a bit vulnerable. Sometimes she didn't like the fame side of things. I was around when she was having, when she left hockey and stuff, and it was making the papers and all that, and it was a bit hard to take for her, because all she ever wanted to do was just make good telly.
Make people laugh. But the point I was going to make, though, was that so she's got this kind of, like vulnerability about her. Even I think Ricky Gervais has got this kind of something that he's trying to prove. But you've always struck me just as like, if you weren't doing comedy, like tomorrow you could drive a lorry or star in a film.
Well, it's funny. What's he called? Stevenson. What's his name? The comic Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
I remember the first time he ever saw me was at a gig. It must have been John's gig or something, and he was working. And was it called Oliver Double as well? It was called. Anyway, he had two stage names, and he won for our circuit.
Yeah, Harvey Oliver
for the mainstream circuit.
Jeff, yeah.
And I remember getting up, and I must have done really well, because at the end of it, he goes, I don't know how you did that. He said, it's funny you should say that, because he said, you just look like a bus driver who's gone up and done a bit.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm not doing anything other than being myself.
That's probably what it is.
And I think that's the key to it. If you can be yourself, I mean, we all exaggerate the odd story in that. Because I've never even met Caroline or Peter Kay, you know what I mean? I just pretend I have.
I don't even work here. So they tell me, like, for me, though, and there is a subject that is the most divisive subject on the UK comedy circuit, and people get as passionate about this as they do about the Black Lives Matter, about trans issues, about Brexit, and that is, of course, Mrs. Brown's Boys.
It's the funniest thing, because it's like, number one, the two hardest working people I know in showbiz are Brendan O'Carroll and Peter Kay.
Yeah.
And it's no accident that they're successful in what they do, because they put so much work into it. And the reason they've got such a big fan base is because they care about it, even more so with Brendan.
Yeah.
Because I was involved in it from the beginning, right from the pilot until...
It was radio, and it moved on to...
Yeah. Was when I was filming in Glasgow with them for the actual series, and I was doing my bit, I felt like I was jumping on the bandwagon slightly. And I didn't feel comfortable being. No, I felt comfortable being part of it, but I didn't want to cash in on it, or like try and make it like I was a big time Charlie. But I remember Brendan was saying he gave me bollocking one day because what they used to do was even at the I went from doing the Frog and Bucket on the Thursday night.
Yep.
And on the Friday night, I ended up at the Newcastle Arena playing a Mormon in front of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
That was a difference for me. Whereas Brendan was kind of used to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not used to it, but like they were already doing really well. And it was that kind of, and he made us all at the end of the gig go around to the back of the arena and sign autographs for people. And I said, I was honest with him. I just said, I don't really feel good. He said, look, don't be the dickhead that doesn't let them get the set of autographs that they want. He said, people care about that kind of thing. And after that moment, I said, yeah, you're right, because my picture was in the programme, blah, blah, and
yeah,
and it just made me think that the quality of Mrs. Brown, you can argue all day long, me and you, with our comedy heads on. But what they did was they almost, like Peter Kay reinvented the Northern stand-up 20 years ago. Brendan reinvented the old school sitcom again. And it was massively popular. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't have got through lockdown if it hadn't been for the royalties of Mrs. Brown. And I'm out here, isn't it?
So I'm a massive fan, right? Massive fan. And I've given up even arguing with people now because it's like coming out and saying I'm a homophobic, racist, child abuser, because it drives the comedy intelligentsia hate it with a passion. And I've even done gigs at an Irish centre where all the other acts have slagged off Mrs. Brown, and I've gone on and said how much I love it and why I love it, and got almost a standing ovation. And it's like, I think this is one area where the UK comedy circuit completely out of touch with the punters. Completely.
Well, that's why Radio 4's not good.
Yeah.
But you listen to Radio 4, and the majority of stuff, it's not relatable at all. So I don't know who's listening to it. And it's when you watch any kind of comedy on the telly, there's the really broad stuff, the really kind of smacking between the eyes stuff, and then there's the Ricky Gervais stuff, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's that. Yeah, I don't get the criticism of the Mrs. Brown stuff because it is what it is. You either like it or you don't. It's a bit Marmite, isn't it?
No, you either like it or there's something wrong with you. There's no Marmite. There's no Marmite there at all. But for me, because I'm from
you're from an Irish background, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's a very working class background. And you could go into my mum's kitchen. I could come downstairs on a Saturday morning, and there could be what was then called a transvestite, and a Nigerian woman from the church, and a drunk Scottish bloke, and then Alan the caretaker would come in with a bag and go, "Does anyone want to buy sausages or trainers or jam?" I always remember the jam one. Come in with a bag, like with loads of jam in. And then I was then sent to knock on people's doors to go, there's jam if you go over there now, you get some. Yeah. And kids just appearing to buy jam. Yeah. And that microchips, I remember discussion about microchips, whether you could eat them or not, and how big would they be. And it was that, maybe we weren't a very bright family, I don't know. But so for that little time when Mrs. Brown's Boys I'm watching that, I'm sitting watching it, and my mum and dad are alive, and it just...
I agree. I mean, I'd never slag it off because it's one of the best things I've ever done. The actual crack of doing it and the excitement of doing telly and doing arenas and getting good pay for it, well paid for it. Yeah. And watching how hard Brendan and his Mrs. Jenny work. Also, they've nailed that family thing where all the family are working together. Yep. Happy days. If we all could do that, we all would, wouldn't we? Mate, there's a reason why only a few people do. That would be the highlight. Know what they're doing.
That'd be the highlight of my career if I was ever on something like that. I wouldn't even be able to act. I'd just sit there, starstruck. Be like, and it's cheesy and it's panto and all the rest of it. You know what? It's just great. I love it.
It's exactly what it is. And if, I've had I was at one gig and someone, Michael Legg, turned up. at an arena gig.
I know where this is going.
And he just started, and then he didn't directly slag me off, but he was going on with himself about, and why would you go and sit, other than being a nasty bastard, to slag it off? Why would you even go if you don't like it?
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of things I don't like, but I wouldn't go down slagging anybody off and saying you shouldn't be doing it.
But it's that,
So,
it's that thing. But you alluded to lockdown and how you got through it, how you coped with it. What did you do? Did it?
Well, the first thing was like, you know yourself, your diary just turns completely white.
Yeah.
I remember watching a documentary about Joan Rivers, and she was panicking because her diary was white. You know that Joan Rivers documentary just before she died?
Yeah.
And she said, look at that, I've got now in. And then she did the celebrity thing with Trump and turned it round, you know, started getting bookings again. I remember looking at my diary, it wasn't white, it was all lines through. And then you start feeling vulnerable and you start feeling scared because you're going, hang on a minute, this time last week I was earning decent money, this week I'm not getting anything. And so I did what everybody else did, I panicked and just went, shit, what's going to happen here now? What do I do now? Can I diversify into something else at short notice, which is always not a good thing unless you get lucky, you know, and the door opens.
Yeah.
So I decided to start doing, luckily I got to do some podcasting, and similar to yourself, I was doing some mental health stuff, and I got to interview the nurses at the Manchester Royal General who were the afterlife, the end of life,
palliative care team
nurses and that, and just an incredible kind of experience just to see their side of things and how they deal with things, but in a more kind of informative way than as like all gloom and doom, you know. And then tackling really severe subjects as well was good, and I found that good, you know, a good experience. And then I got to interview a doctor, a surgeon, a heart surgeon, and I also got to interview the nurse that coordinated the transplant of the deceased to get to the person who was receiving it. Right. So I got a rounded kind of podcasting thing going with it, and that was funded by the health authority. You know, that money came from there. But it was just, I thought, yeah, I like this. I like doing this. I like yourself doing what you're doing now. You know, you go, yeah, this is having a proper chat, and I'm not having to switch on to the comedy mode. I'm not having to, you know, just be a bit more, don't know what the word is really, a bit more relaxed, a bit more.
Well, it can be yourself. Not that you need anything to be yourself, because you be yourself playing the part of an Italian.
One of the highlights I brought down was me and my son. We did a program together for Radio Manchester, BBC Radio Manchester, and we did a Father's Day special.
Okay.
And we got to interview John Thompson and Bobby Ball and Phil Walker's dad.
Roy Walker, yeah.
And we did all them, and it was we hung it on talking about your dad. And then Bobby Ball was on with his two lads.
Yeah.
And it was, unfortunately, it was the last interview that Bobby did.
Oh, that's sad.
And then also, I think during lockdown as well, if we're talking in terms of where your head's at, it's a really difficult thing to come to terms with, that you kind of like. And also, I think when you're older, you know that, and most people who work in our game know that comedy goes in kind of shift on it, you know, into cycles.
Yeah.
Like when we were doing Jonglers, 95 to 2000 or whatever, it was just pick up the phone, you could get a gig. If one dropped down, you get another gig 7 minutes later, kind of thing. And into 2000, was earning good money, doubling up Nottingham and Leicester, you know what I mean, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when you get to nearly 60, and it goes badum and drops, it's almost like, I think there was a similar thing happened in America back in the 80s when it all just went tits up. There's a lot of comedy, a lot of comedy clubs, but I still feel like if you're good at it, you still get on.
I think so. I think for me, when I did my degree, I did a thing about how in the future, I was 22 when I wrote it. In the future, that when men turn 50, there would be early retirement would be brought in for all men at 50. They'd get them out of the workforce to get the young ones working. And then so lockdown, I'm like, oh, this is me. I've predicted my own future. And it's like, wow, what do we do? But I, and people who listen regularly will know that I just kept busy. I built an extension. We went walking. We've done karaoke. We drank every piece of alcohol in the house we could find, including the decongestive laxative that we bought in Italy. We did alcoholic laxative shots. Now, when you're doing that with a woman at like 2 a.m, I'm like, what are we doing? But we just turned it to a big party. We were fortunate in that we cut down our outgoings, so financially it wasn't the tragedy that it could have been. But
well, I found it, what I did during lockdown, which was a testament to my ex and myself, not me particularly, but when we went into lockdown, we'd split up, and we've been split up quite a while. And she said, for Oliver's sake, would you like to move back in with us just until the end of the lockdown? So I did. And so fortunately, it was the best decision I made, because Oliver felt more secure that he knew where I was.
That's nice.
I could help out so that his mum wasn't stuck in the house on her own and not, and having to, just become a unit again for the sake of, and I found that was a good thing. And also going out every single day with Oliver, playing football with him, was a blessing, a real blessing, a real bonding thing. Like we went out and just me and him, because you couldn't play with anybody else, and it was like I was teaching him skills, and then I started doing some soccer skills for the football team that I run, like I used to do in Canada.
Yeah.
Like,
and also, tell us, I want to ask you just briefly about the miners community centre thing that you do.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing I was kind of most proud of during the lockdown, was getting involved there, because we have a food bank at the miners, but it's not a referral. If you need something and we've got it, you can have it, and that's how we operate. Now, FC United across the road, they have a bigger food bank, if you like, on a bigger scale, because they've got the resources to do so, and they do a fantastic job. But you've got to have a referral from a social worker or maybe a doctor or something, to get free food, basically. So we used the internet to publicise the fact that we had loads of stuff that was being given to us by Aldi and Asda and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And Louis, who works there, who runs the place with his wife, was just driving around all day getting free stuff to give away. And we built up a really good bank of stuff, and people would just turn up. But talking about mental health issues, it was heartbreaking to see people come in, and particularly dads that had no option but to come in and ask for help.
Yeah. Go into a food bank.
And there was occasions when grown men have come in crying, and I've had to just go have a brew or make it a sandwich, or whatever. And it's like, it was so kind of, it was difficult to watch, but it was good that we could do something to help. And I think that was one of the main things that came from that food bank experience. And then I got some funding to do some it was called Pick a Picture, where you pick a picture and you write the story of the picture, and then you get a free photograph that we reproduce, and then we put one at the miners as well. And that really works, because we could do that remotely, with people like we're doing now. And that was interesting. And it was also good to provide turkey and vegetables at Christmas. We even got a load of Hell's Angels that said that we're delivering the food to people on the bikes.
Just incredible, mate.
Everybody just came together, and it was. And then we had a fundraising night.
That sense of community, then, is that what? I think the
community thing carries you through. I think it's important to be an active member of the community. I'm not talking about active like being the club secretary or, being the boss of something or whatever, running something, but just going around. Because there was a lady there that I know, and she just turned up off the street one day and said, "I'm at a loose end. I've just finished. I've had some issues, and I'm a teacher by profession. And she came and joined the community and started doing, voluntary work. And then lo and behold, after a while, she got back into teaching, and she's mentally, more stable than she was.
Hey, that's great.
And happy,
that's great.
and in a relationship now and stuff like that. And it's just so good to see.
You're like an angel, mate. You've even got the grey hair and the beard. You're turning into like a Santa. That's what's happening, mate. That's what's happening.
Well, my dad was a vicar, not a vicar.
Oh, it's all coming out now. Right at the end, all the good stuff comes out.
My dad was a pastor of a church. My dad was a Pentecostal pastor. And I'll send you a picture of my dad and a picture of me together, because we look almost identical now. When I have a beard, I look like my dad. When I don't, I look like my mum. But I think I got that sense of community and that sense of, my mum and dad didn't have 10 bob, you know what I mean? They just lived off faith, if you like.
Yeah.
And they always got sorted out in the end. And we always, like I say, when I consider how poor they were, cash poor, how much of a fantastic lifestyle we had as kids, because they believed in their God, and they believed that good things would happen if they kept plugging away. You know, and I've seen my dad comfort people. I've seen my dad at deathbeds. I've seen my dad pastoral duties. I've seen him doing all sorts of good things, and probably that's what rubbed off on me and my brothers as well. You know, it's like
that grounding has made a difference, a real difference, mate. We've now come to the end of our hour, and that's just flown by, mate. I could talk to you all day, and in fact, I think we should catch up away from this as well. Yeah, make it a regular thing. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, man. And I've watched your social media, as we spoke about earlier. It's fantastic what you're doing. Get that book published, man. You are
well, you know what? And it's not just blowing smoke up your backside, but you were one of the first people to say, when I started doing some stories about 3 or 4 years ago, that you're reading it every day and looking forward to it. And that kind of thing is only a little thing, but it's a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, for someone like us that are in the game we're in, we do get insecure and we do get vulnerable and wondering if we're still, relevant or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think when you've got good mates around you that are not going to offer up any bullshit, and just, I'm not even saying tell it as it is, but just be there and listen.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good attribute to have.
Mate, that's great. Well, look, you take care, man. We'll speak soon.
Yeah.
Thank you ever so much for coming
on. Anytime you want me to do that for you, give me a ring.
Cheers, pal. Speak soon. That was Mr. Smug Roberts. Just an amazing bloke. Just the fact that he's there for other people. And it's all about being active, like he said. Being an active person, helping other people, it's going to help you as well. I know it sounds a bit cliched, but, do good to other people and good things will come to you. It's not about that. It's about, while you're doing stuff for other people, you're being active and you're participating and you belong in something, and you can have a reason to keep going. It's not easy for people at the moment. If you are struggling, or if you know anyone who's struggling, reach out, try and help. There's loads of resources available on the mensradiostation.com website. There's great shows every day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. There's stuff. We're not preachy. We're not practitioners. We're not diagnosing people. Just here to hear people's stories and start a discussion. Because when you start talking, you can make a difference, and making a difference, being the difference, as we know, is a vital component of maintaining positive mental well-being. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure sharing time with a guest. This week's guest, I think, phenomenal. We need like a 10-hour show, really, once we get going. Take care, and we'll speak to you next week. Stay safe. Well, that's the end of another episode of Reading the Signs with me, Comedy John Ryan. We're here every Monday night at 7 p.m. talking with comedians about mental wellness, mental well-being, and just trying to get the conversation going. What we're trying to do is show that it's good to talk, and we're also trying to show that everybody can go through the same experiences. A massive thank you to the WJ Group who sponsored the show, showing their commitment not just to mental well-being, but also to reaching as broad an audience as possible. It's great to be part of the mensradiostation.com family, so do check us out on the website, on social media. We'll be back next Monday. You take care. Stay safe, everybody. See you next week.